Hello fellow hunters, JBizHunts here with your guide to the Game Feeder DLC pack. This first look is brought to you with footage from early access on behalf of the Hunter Network. This is one of the most highly anticipated non-DLC maps ever released by the Expansive Worlds for the Hunter Call of the Wild. And it's finally here. Feeders have been one of the community's biggest requests for years, and now they've officially made their way into the game. In this guide, I'll break down how the new game feeders work, what I've learned from testing them, and a few strategies to help you start pulling in big bucks right to your tree stand. Let's dive in. The Game Feeder pack comes with 3 unique feeder types, each with its own purpose and advantages. You can place up to 8 feeders per map in any combination that you want. If you want 8 bait barrels, go for it. However, feeders must be placed at least 300 meters apart from one another in order for them to be placed on the map. When you purchase the pack, you'll receive one of each feeder type for free. Additional feeders can be purchased using in-game credits, and you'll also need to refill them periodically, which does cost in-game currency as well. But don't worry. If used right, you'll be racking up some cash from all the deer you will be harvesting. Animals will only visit your feeder during their scheduled feed times, and only if they're in range of your setup to be attracted to it. So don't expect a white-tailed deer to show up at your feeder during its drink time. Animals still need to follow their natural daily routines. Now, you might be thinking, come on JBiz, animals already have feed times, isn't this just a waste of my money? Not even close, fellow hunters. Let's take a look at each feeder type and I'll show you how they can completely change your gameplay. For clarity, I'm using my PC account for this early access test. All my regular content is usually recorded on my Xbox, which I'm at level 60, but this time around my early access hunter is only level 17 and completely broke. So this guide is coming from the perspective of a casual new player, though I've packed in plenty of insights from a veteran hunter as well. The box feeder is the lightest of the bunch, weighing just 6 kilograms and costing 12,000 in-game credits to purchase additional ones. It's made from a lightweight material, but beware, bears can destroy it. So if you're on a bear-heavy map, use it with caution. This feeder is designed for medium to large deer species since it's activated by an animal's snout triggering the release of the feed. In testing, I found that it does not attract roe deer as an example. They're simply just too small to engage the mechanism, so I'm assuming musk deer and other small deer-like species may not work with this feeder as well. It works best for like black bucks, white-tailed deer, fallow deer, and I've even attracted some elk as well. A really cool feature of this box feeder is that you can check its feed level directly from the map by hovering over its icon. If the feed level is going down, that's a solid indicator that animals are using this location since it's only released when in use. You can even use the box feeder as like a test feeder to scout activity in areas before committing to a heavier setup like the post feeder. The post feeder looks exactly like its name, a raised feeder on a pole with solar that is the battery. It uses a timed release system so it automatically dispenses feed on the ground without needing animal interaction. It costs 12,000 credits and weighs 8 kilograms in total. The downside is that you can't tell if animals are really visiting it unless you physically check the area or sit and watch from a blind or a stand. The benefit? It attracts a much wider range of species from the small deer like roe deer to large animals like elk and moose since it doesn't really rely on a snout trigger. So if your box feeder isn't pulling in the animals that you want, swap it out for a post feeder. All feeders come with the ability to use 2 different types of feed. Each type will attract animals at a higher or lower degree. With so many animals in the game, I couldn't test out the feeds on all types of animals, but from what I'm seeing from the description of the types of feeds, it may be more self-explanatory than we believe. The bait barrel is the heaviest option at 10 kilograms, but also the cheapest at 10,000 credits. It's used for scavenger species, so think bears, boars, wild pigs. A key advantage is if you place a bait barrel within 300 meters of your box feeder, scavengers will usually go for the barrel instead, saving your box feeder from damage and your in-game wallet of $1,200 in repairs. It's very expensive to repair your box feeder. It's simple, it's reliable, and great for bringing in solo animals like bears out of dense cover for a better shot. It also gives you a way to hunt nocturnal drinkers like boars during a more favorable time, like their feed time. And no, don't expect to see tigers, snow leopards, or mountain lions show up. This one is strictly for the scavenger species. After plenty of time testing during early access, here are some of the quick tips to help you get the most out of your feeders. Use the box feeder as a scout tool for medium to large deer species before committing more resources. Place feeders near hunting structures that are already on the map, like the ground blinds or hunting towers. They often sit on animal travel routes. These structures are much cheaper than buying tripods as well. Experiment with different feed types, meat bait for bears, mash feed for boars, etc., etc. Set up a tent 250 meters away for easy fast travel to check your setups. Check feeders at different times of days. Animals visit during their unique feed schedules, so based on home ranges, you can know where to set up and find these animals that you're looking for. They might show up during their morning, or they could show up during their evening feed times. You just have to check them. The game feeders don't create new feed zones. Instead, they seem to generate temporary feed zones around the area until animals are harvested. The new feed zones won't show up on your map, but I feel it's the only mechanic that would have made these work for these animals. So, here's how they can fit into your gameplay. For new players specifically, feeders are amazing for new hunters who struggle to locate animals. At level 17 on my early access PC account, I found them incredibly useful for building XP and cash. I'd set up a feeder, I'd watch for activity and carefully approach for a clean harvest as I was expecting animals at that feeder. Have you ever spooked a rare albino whitetail or a legendary red deer and lost track of it? Drop a feeder near where you last spotted them? You might just lure that trophy buck back out and be able to harvest them at that feeder. These feeders can be used for completing missions, like on older reserves like Leighton Lakes, Hirschfeld, or even Quattro Colinas. Often these missions require harvesting animals in specific areas. Think the Richard Hope ground blind mission on Leighton. Now you can just set up a feeder nearby and finally make that mission a lot more doable as you would bring in the animals to feed. Lastly, for me, it's like trophy showcasing. Have you got a diamond potential animal in a bad visibility spot? Maybe they're hiding in the trees. Maybe they're on a corner on a lake that's really hard to really see. Set up a feeder nearby in a clearing and draw them in for a perfect position for your cinematic moment. For grinding, I do not think the feeder system is ideal, even for tahr that we only have to hunt them during their feed zones. However, how you can use them on your Great One grinds would be if you find a really cool rare or an awesome diamond and you want to take them in a location that's not near a drink zone, well, put down a feeder, find what times they feed nearby, and maybe you can draw them out for a cool trophy shot on one of your great ones. So here are some ideas for using feeders on every map. Hirschfelden is one of the densest but most active reserves in the game, and those open farm fields are perfect for placing some feeders down. Drop one down right in the middle of a crop field and set up a blind with a clear line of sight, and you'll be pulling in everything that feeds nearby before you know it. Leighton Lakes can sometimes feel quiet unless you're chasing drink zones, but feeders completely change that. Build up one of those hunting structures that are scattered around the map, set your feeder nearby, and you'll quickly bring in new life to the reserve. Grab a coffee, settle in, and let the action come to you. Medved Taiga. The frozen lakes of Medved are a game changer for feeder placement. You can drop them right on the ice and pull moose, reindeer, musk deer, and even wild boar straight into the open. It's a perfect setup for long-range sniping or stacking some cash fast. Virunga Savanna is wide open plains, and they're ideal for drawing an antelope out of the tall grass. Place your feeders in the open near a natural crossing or between trees for cover, and watch herds of springbok, kudu, and gemsbok pour in. It's as cinematic as it gets, and some of these animals they do drink at night, so hunting them in their feed zone might be more ideal. Parque Fernando is one of the densest maps in the entire game, and drink zone hunting here can get downright dangerous. Imagine using feeders to draw black buck or mule deer out of the thick brush and into the open. Suddenly, those risky hunts turn into prime opportunities for clean, controlled shots. Yukon Valley might be one of the most I'm excited about. Picturing luring grizzly bears out into the open or placing feeders in those low-lying marshes where caribou love to drink and graze. It could make for some seriously unique cinematic hunts across one of the game's most beautiful backdrops. Quattro Colinas gives off major Hirschfelden vibes, wide farm fields and rolling hills just begging for feeder setups. Drop one along a hedgerow or in the middle of a field and you'll be pulling roe deer, red deer, and wild boar right into the open, perfect for lining up those long-range harvests. Silver Ridge Peaks might be the biggest wild card. I'm especially curious to see if feeders will finally make grinding for mountain goats viable. Since they only have feed times, I've never really targeted them before, but with this new system, it might become one of the most rewarding grinds in the game. Te Aroa is packed with open meadows and rolling fields, offering some incredible sight lines for fallow deer, red deer, sika, goats, and feral pigs. The real wild card here, though, is taking the post feeders up into the mountains. Imagine drawing chamois or a tar out of the cliffs and into the open field for a perfect hillside hunt. Rancho del Arroyo's lakes can be tricky to hunt, with uneven sight lines and thick brush everywhere, but that's exactly where feeders can shine on this map. Find one of those rare open patches, drop a feeder nearby. You might just be able to lure a pronghorn or one of those new desert bighorn sheep into a view for a clean cinematic harvest. Mississippi Acres has huge potential. While some of the grasslands can get a bit tall and make for spotting animals through it tough, strategic feeder placement can turn that around. Set up near fields edges or along tree lines to pull deer, hogs, maybe even some pests like raccoons out of cover for better shooting opportunities. Reventuli Coast is already one of the best Great One whitetail maps, but imagine the cinematic potential of calling a Great One right out to your feeder. The variety of open fields, forest edges, and lakes makes this reserve a dream for experimenting with feeder setups and creating some unforgettable hunts. New England might benefit the most from feeders out of any map. The terrain can be rugged and unpredictable, but there are plenty of open fields tucked along the river systems. Set feeders strategically near those waterways and you'll have whitetail and moose stepping out for a clean, high visibility shot in no time. Emerald Coast might just be the perfect game feeder map of all maps. With 8 different deer species and several overlapping feed times, you can practically hunt all day without moving too far. Drop a new feeder across a few key hotspots, and you'll have a rotating cast of new deer species showing up every hour, non-stop action. Sundar Patan shows some real promise for feeder setups. Barasinga and northern red muntjacs are great candidates to draw into open spaces, especially if you're tired of being surprised by a tiger while feed zone hunting. With feeders, you can plan your shots safely and still get that heart-pounding jungle excitement. Askey Ridge is one of the most eager places that I want to test feeders on. I'm planning to focus on mountain caribou. Since they only drink at night and visibility in some areas can be brutal, feeders could completely change the grind, setting them up in open terrain and rotating between them until I spawn a rare or a diamond sounds like a perfect challenge for me. There you have it, fellow hunters, a quick guide for the new game feeder pack. I want to know in the comments below, what are your first impressions of this game feeders pack? And do you have any special tips or tricks that you are using that you can share with fellow hunters in the comment section below? If you enjoyed this guide, please give the video a like. I would also appreciate you using up your hype points and hype this video. I'm sure you got a whole bunch of them, just put them all on this one. For more Hunter Call the Wild content, please subscribe, and as always, fellow hunters, happy hunting.